starting a whole series where we just discuss some Bible characters and their questionable decisions and what we can learn from them and what we can learn not to do. So we are starting with the king of mistakes himself, starting with the King David of the Bible. Let's start with this. Ben, what do you know about David? Like just general knowledge.
The guy that had mind, voltage to go and fight somebody that is 50 times bigger than him. The guy believed in God, die. Because the guy, basically, I know David for having mind.
True, actually. Because the things David did, man. The things David did. Like, okay, so our topic for today now is David and Goliath. It's just like analyzing that whole matchup between David and Goliath, bro.
Okay.
And it's unreal. Like if you really think about it, it's unreal. Like if you go and check like the Bible verse and everything when they are describing Goliath, it's this guy looks like a monster. Like it's think like anime. Okay, let's take for instance, my anime fans will know what I'm talking about here, right? It's like Madara. That's how they described Madara in Naruto. That's how they described Goliath. You get
True.
like they said. He said the way they were describing me, he stood. Okay, let me find the verse. A champion went out from the camp of the Philistine, height almost 10 feet. No, height 7 feet and a span almost 10 feet. No.
Yeah.
His height was 10 feet. That's sorry, my bad. His height was 10. It was 10 feet tall. That's twice a normal human being.
True.
And the weight of his armor, the way they described it, man, is mad. Is the spear is using the circumference of the spear is a thing that anybody uses. And this nigga comes and says, if they burn you well, come and fight me. If someone comes,
I'll say, Daddy, I'm sorry.
like it's unreal, man. It's unreal. The way they set up, the way Goliath is set up is like final boss.
I know, right? So that those games you playing on your phone those days for like 2-3 months, and then you now meet the final boss, and it's like everything you've been doing was just a waste because you can never defeat the final boss.
I used to hate those things, man. I used to like let's divert for a minute. Let's talk about game mechanics. Why is it that you fight the entire thing? You fight you cross the entire level, you are winning everything well. Then you get to the final boss and it's like this guy is unbeatable. You guys
I know, right? Yes, no, I used to play.
I used to play now, guy. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog. What they call this one now? This bounce ball. Yeah. When I was small, that year.
The secret was to have the code.
Or Snake Game, guy. If you played Snake Game, you would know.
That's for all for Snake Game.
Old men like us.
Was there a code? Was there a code for the Snake Game?
Yeah, I don't cheat. I don't cheat. I just play. You know,
yeah.
Don't cheat. I don't know codes.
Was there a code for Snake Game?
I don't know. I didn't know about codes then.
Well, you guys didn't know the code for the bounce game.
But wait, no. I don't remember.
I know it's 78789 and 998, then 787899 hash. Basically, what it will do is will make you invulnerable, and then you can do something that it will just, instead of bouncing, the ball will just go up.
Guy, the fact that you remember that thing, guy, how old are you again?
That's like the only game I knew the code for. Like that was the only game I knew the game.
Now that I think about it, I don't know codes for games, okay? Like I really just play for the fun of it. When I get bored, I remove it.
Off track enough. Let's come back, I beg.
So like I was saying, like guy, like me, I'm like 6'3". If I see that guy, like someone that is 6'5" intimidates me, unless it's someone that is 10 feet, guy. I'm being honest though. I will kneel down and beg for my life. In fact, I will snitch on anybody, guy. Like
And you take into consideration that David was 17.
Hey, that's guy. That guy is the king of mind, though.
David was 17, man. David was 17.
Mars had voltage because guy, like you can only imagine the people that was with him when he was saying, "Oh, okay, give this guy an armor." The guy said no. Give him spear. Give him sword. He said no. Me, if I'm the king, Saul was the king. If I'm the king, I'll be like, another boy dead. But feet, okay, the ones I know. Okay, the fact that he killed a bear and a lion. Guy, if I'm even being honest, safe, killing a bear and a lion, he was not 17 when he did that too. Because guy, I'm reasoning it. That means this guy will probably like. Let's say the truth. If this guy fought Goliath at 15,
No, he fought Goliath at 17.
at 17, guy, that means almost at 15, this guy was whooping some bears, guy.
Okay. Okay, let's talk. Okay, let's just run through the story real quick, right?
Okay.
So the Philistines are fighting Israel. They're fighting Israel. Now the army of Israel are camped up on one side of the valley. The army of the Philistines are camped out on the other side of the valley. And then this guy comes out called Goliath of Gath, 10 feet tall, mad looking armor. He comes out and and then calls out to the army of Israel and goes like, "You guys pick a champion. I'll be the champion for Philistine. If your champion fights me and kills me, we'll be your servants and we'll serve you forever. If I kill your champion, you guys will serve us. I dare you. Oh yeah, come." And then all of Israel just basically goes back and says, we can't hear, like buries their head into the sand like ostriches. And then David, this nigga, like seventh born child of 7 sons. You know, there are arguments actually. There's some
8 sons.
that
8 sons.
is eight. Okay, there are eight. Oh my bad, there are eight.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are eight. David is the eighth son. Yeah, and then there are theologians that believe that David was a bastard, like a literal bastard.
So adopted then.
No, not adopted, a literal bastard. Like his
But
father was his father, but his father was not married to his mother. There
oh,
are people that literally believe that. I don't know how true it is.
okay,
I don't know how true it is because Bible did not really talk about that one. But we know that David was relegated to the backside of the desert for majority of his youth. And so his father calls him more money and goes like, David has 3 brothers in the army, and his father calls him more money and goes, "Okay, David, take some food to your brothers because they've been on the battleground and they'll be hungry. Just take supplies to them." And David gets there. And remember, Goliath had been doing this for like almost 40 days, I think. He's been doing this daily. Like this challenge, he's been doing that challenge for 40 days like that. And then David comes and hears it and goes like, how dare this guy? There's nobody going to fight him. And then this part that gets me. David overheard. See, this is the funny thing. What actually attracted David most of all was the reward that they were talking about. Like if you read it, it says
He's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy. David overheard them. Said, "What did they say will happen?" He said they will be exempt for taxes. He will give his daughter. David had daughter. See that boy. David has woman problem.
I swear, man like Ben.
man's risk his life for woman, guy.
David has woman problem. David had he'll be rich, marry the princess, and be exempt from taxes. David was like, "Nah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this." It was like, "We're gonna do this."
I'm sure that the king's daughter was the biggest incentive for him.
I'm absolutely sure. If you check the track record of David, like, see, if it was an isolated incident, right, you go like, okay, maybe it's that. But if you check David's track record, it's true, women. Nah, it was the king's daughter that got his attention. It was the king's daughter that got his attention.
Maz was doing it for the prestige. He was doing See, Mars wanted to be Prince David by all means.
Ah, David, man. And then okay, let me quickly finish the story. So David goes to Saul. I can do this, and then Saul goes like, okay, no, Wala. Take note. Saul actually already knew David because there was a point when Saul was being tormented by an evil spirit, and he said he should bring a musician, and David was the musician they brought. This was, I think, in the previous chapter. So David,
If Saul knew David,
at
Saul,
this point, yeah,
yeah, guy, that means, guy, can we? I want to pause on this. Can we just think that when you look at this guy, think from Saul's perspective, guy, you be farmer, you still be musician. Now you won't fight, guy. Like,
so do you want to do everything?
you just be like, guy, you know what? Can't take through yourself. Now, still say you feel do yourself.
Yeah. Saul basically says, okay, no, Wala, and gives him all his armor, like the king's armor. That means it's like the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to imagine like the size difference between Saul and David, because first and foremost, Saul, when they describe Saul in like earlier in the Bible, they say Saul was a head and shoulder taller than all other men around.
Yeah.
So Saul was a big guy, like probably like Ben. Saul was a big guy. You get, and then
Guys, I'm big. Thank you.
Saul now gives David his armor, and the armor was basically like David was basically swimming in the armor. So imagine the size discrepancy between both of them.
True.
Now imagine, like, for Saul not to go to fight Goliath. So that means the Goliath is already bigger than Saul, and Saul is bigger than David. So David, there's a reason that thing became a meme or a I don't know how to put it, a saying. Like the size, man, the size, and it's the confidence for me. He dropped the armor and the sword they gave him and goes to pick stones from the river. Let me finish the story. Goes pick stones from the river, goes to fight David, says, you come to me with a sword and a javelin, I come to you in the name of the Lord will deliver you into my hand, I will cut off your head. Not holding sword, says I will cut off your head. Then puts his hand in his back, takes the stone, slings it, and he strikes the Philistine on the forehead, falls to his face and died, cuts his head, and then bloodbath from there on. So this story, which part really hit you the most?
Which part
Really hit you the most?
should I? It's like every part. So if I should start, you just know that it might end and last for a very long time. The first part, like this David guy, like David's one of the characters in the Bible. Like if you study him, like yeah, where did God get this kind of human being from? Like so many characteristics, so many interesting things. Like he's so human, so relatable, and so unrelatable in the same way. Like it's funny. Like, okay, let me just start with what hit me the most. Like first, like you explained already, the size of Goliath. Like when the Bible really puts emphasis at describing Goliath's size so that we understand like how mighty and how scared the Israelites were of him. Like the Bible literally said they were greatly afraid. That's to show how scared they were. So, like he said, David, his father sent him. And I think I kind of agree with the theologians because if you remember when Samuel wanted to anoint one of the sons of Jesse, they said, "Where are your sons?" And Jesse brought out all of his sons.
Yeah, brought out all
forgetting that David existed. Can you imagine? So there might be some truth to what they are saying. But there's no reason for your father to forget you that you are somewhere. I said, okay, there's one there that is there. Imagine that kind of stuff. So that's just by the way. And then this at David's mouth. Like the guy knows how to boast. The first thing that he did when he heard this stuff and he asked that was the reward for the person that kills Goliath. So his first imagination is that what's the reward for the person that kills Goliath? That means he was so confident that he was going to kill Goliath.
Everybody else was thinking we might die, but David is out here thinking, okay, what's the reward though? What's the reward?
So his mindset is on another level. That's the first thing. Like his mindset was something else. And then it's okay. Then he went like this way. Like I think this first period of him asking and all the things that happened, all the events that occurred after that was just God explaining the kind of mindset David had. And like most people, when we face like a certain Goliath in our life or a big challenge, like is one thing that makes them fail is their mindsets. Because if you lose in your mind, you've lost spiritually and physically.
Okay, so what kind
That's
of
just-
mindset did David have?
exactly. So the first thing when he was asking this question, his elder brother Eliab was angry that like, what are you doing here? You this insolent, proud boy. Get that kind of stuff, trying to discourage him.
Yeah.
But David did not listen to his elder brother. And that's one thing that affects most of us. Like you have this particular dream or you want to achieve something. And then people that are close to you that you respect, they say something and you listen to them or you take it together. Okay, they are my elder brother, they are this. And immediately you lose faith in yourself. His elder brother was not the first person that discouraged him because the Bible also stated that other people that also told him, they said the same thing that his elder brother said. But David did not listen to them. It was when people went to Saul, he now had the liver to go and meet the king and tell the king that let no out, like he's going to defeat the Philistine. So for him to even have the liver, the way he was talking to the king, was talking to the king like he's talking to his pal. You get that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then then when he was explaining what he has done, he said that he took a lion by its beard. I guess said
Think about it. How close to the let's see how we said it. Let's see how we said it.
Okay, he said that he said I caught it by its beard and struck and killed it.
This guy. Yeah, this guy, man. This guy. Do you know how close you have to get to a lion to touch its mane? How close you have to get to a lion? Like that means it did not. This was not just him. It did not throw the. It did not throw the. It did not throw the stone at lion. This one was not stone matter. It got in and personal.
Exactly.
It got in
apart from that, he said he took the lamb from the mouth of the lion, bro.
That means the lion did not even kill the lamb.
Exactly.
Yo, man. No, let's get into like because this biblical story is that here's the first thing you need to learn to our listeners. There's one thing you need to know. The Bible stories, they are not stories, they are actual realities. When you want to start to think about them as historical happenings, it changes everything. So there's a lion, and then there's a lamb in the lion's mouth. And David goes in. That means the lion was not able to kill the lamb.
I think I have an idea for why that couldn't happen. You know that the Bible said that he said that the lion took the lamb from his flock, and then he said, "I went out after it and struck it." That means he was chasing the lion.
Damn.
So maybe the lion was scared of David. That's why he did not have time.
Like man,
kill the lamb. So that means his presence too commanded fear for an animal.
And then
like a lion.
Like it's like what you were talking about. Back to what you were talking about, the mindset, man.
Exactly.
The mindset thing you were talking about. I was listening to there's this popular psychologist I like listening to, Jordan Peterson, yeah. And then he talks about facing your fears, right?
Yeah.
He talks about facing your fears. And apparently there's this old psychotherapy thing where the only way to overcome your fear is to face it. A lot of times, like, we have these challenges, we have this Goliaths, we have these lions and the bears. We have this lion and the bears that are, I'm sure this is not the first time everybody's hearing this, but we have this lion and bears that are facing us, but we don't face them because they're just so scary. But it's like you were saying, the lion was running away from David. The lion was running away. Like the fears and the challenges need us to face them. Unless or else we won't know that we can overcome them. Someone should write this thing down. I'm dropping word. I'm dropping word. Someone should write this down.
Right on. Yes, sir.
Like, is that thing you were talking about, the mindset thing, man? David mindset is one of the maddest thing about David.
It needs to be studied. It needs to be studied. Like, there should be a university course on the mindset of David.
Like, man, Goliath is twice your height, probably
You
three
know,
times
he
your
went,
size.
he went further on to say that your servant has both killed a lion and a bear. Like, and then who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Like that, he said the uncircumcised Philistine would just be like one of them. So what David saw was the fact that Goliath was uncircumcised, so he's not worthy
Mm.
to be feared.
So our challenges are not worthy to be feared.
Like, bro, because okay, you see, God, thank you. For you to be circumcised, that means you are part of the covenant with God.
Okay, yeah.
So David's mindset was that this guy is uncircumcised, so he's not under the covenant with God. That means he has no protection. So why are you guys scared of him?
So David's boast was not in himself.
Exactly.
These things are deep, man. These things are really deep. These things are really deep, man. And then the fact that David goes against this monster wearing armor and everything, and David goes against him with a stone.
That's what I want. That is what I want to talk about. That's stone,
You
guy.
see, before Ben goes
Like,
on, like I think David, everybody, they were seeing how big Goliath was, how mighty he is. Like, it's impossible to attack someone like this. But I think what David saw was like, oh my God, I've not seen a target this big, because he was going with a sling and
man,
stone.
man
In his
said,
mind, he could have taken, I've not seen a target this big. This will be the easiest thing for me.
man said that he's so big I can't miss.
I know, right?
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Guy, like when I think about this David story, the one thing that enters my head is, how do you drop, like, guy? Basically, you are the mess. When I say you are in the favor of the king.
Mm-hmm.
If Mars wanted a sword created of diamonds, I promise you that thing will have happened.
Yeah.
Because the king gave him his armor. He could have given me
Mm-hmm.
any other armor. He said his own, which means you were already in his favor. Man
Mm-hmm.
said, no, I'm going to a river to go and find stones. Because now, the question I made, Goliath and stones have touched this guy before. It's not as if this stone not a touchable. But you said, without knowing this guy's battle strategy, without knowing how this guy fights, without knowing how he invades or how he moves, you saw this guy and you're like, you know what? Forget the sword, forget the spear, forget shield. Just this slingshot and these five pebbles will be okay. Then you now look at the fact that Mars hit this guy with in one target straight to his temple. Like, I'm not sure, but I don't think the Bible did not record how many times he fired that thing. To my knowledge, it was once.
Yeah, once.
And it took this guy one try. That means, this guy was he was a warrior from birth. He didn't only, like, Mars was talented already.
And this started like something just hit me, right? So
Mm-hmm.
David at the end of his life, David was known as the greatest warrior of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
David don't know he could become a warrior until he fought Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
Because after he fought Goliath,
I think I know where you're going. Yes.
because after he fought Goliath, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you read the Bible on after he fought Goliath,
Mm-hmm.
then this is another issue David like woman is
Yeah.
Saul comes and says the bride price is 100, is it 100 or 1,000 foreskin or a certain amount of foreskin of Philistines.
Mm-hmm.
That's already weird on its own. Like, that's a whole podcast on its own. Like, why are you asking for foreskin? Why are you asking for foreskin or for what's it called, for bride price? What do we use the foreskin to do? Like, you can say kill so amount of Philistines, but you're asking specifically for foreskin. I mean, weird fetish. Every man to what he likes. Anyways, back on point. David goes and Saul asks for a foreskin. David goes and kills that exact amount of Philistines. Do you get that? David went from killing Goliath, basically became a warrior almost overnight, but did not know he could do that. But he would not know he could have done that until he fought Goliath.
Wait, so but can we run it back? And I think we need to give one episode to actually talking about David's woman problem. My guy was gonna kill for like
That's next episode. That's next
like
episode.
we have to really think about that because
No, that's the next episode, Ben. Relax, relax, relax.
like I know,
Guys,
but like David, like when you look at it, man's just said like like a challenge just faced him. Man just said, "Oh, okay, let's go."
no
And that
problem.
challenge came.
It's,
Okay,
it's,
let's go.
it's the mindset thing.
Right?
He's not looking at the challenge. He's looking at the reward.
Man was like, because I put myself in that situation. In fact, I put myself in not even in David's head. I put myself in a person that is listening to David or somebody that was there. Like, bro, like me, say like I see this small boy. I'm a warrior. I see this small boy and I'm saying, oh, I'll kill this. Who is this? Or circumcised. I'll be like, guy, will you keep quiet before he hear you? Like when you're hearing these people, you will be like, guy, you have mind though.
Like, yo.
Then you can only imagine, bro. I can honestly believe it that the human reaction to when Goliath fell down and died is that for a whole 2 minutes that
Silence.
full battleground was silent.
Like silence.
Was
Like you can hear a pin drop.
like
Then you just, that is there.
because guy, I'm in my mind. I'm like, 10 feet is not. It's not, guy. That's not a small. And that guy, it's not like he's 10 feet and he's lanky. Because he's for you to carry that the way you described it, man,
muscles.
and it took one stone.
I think one of the reasons why the Bible goes in depth in that is because like one of the ways to study, especially biblical stories, not even just Bible, especially biblical stories. Like when you say that it's a story of somebody in the Bible, one of the ways to study it is kind of like metaphorically in a way. Like you get like symbolisms. I think one of the reasons the Bible goes in depth into describing how big and how strong Goliath is like, so okay, so when we now apply it in our lives, like Goliath was basically the epitome of challenges that you could face as a warrior. Because it doesn't get bigger than Goliath.
Facts.
It doesn't get stronger than Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
Goliath was it. Goliath was that like this guy was a giant. This guy could think. I've watched Game of Thrones. Like in Game of Thrones, there was this giant. It's not even. I don't think it was as big as Goliath. It was 7 feet. And then there was this scene where it took someone's head and squashed it in. Sorry for the visual image, but it took someone's head, put his thumbs on the eye, and squashed it in. So Goliath can do that. Can basically grab someone's skull. Now imagine someone as small as David and basically squash it in. So that's like the epitome of challenges that you can face. Like that's the biggest hurdle you can ever cross.
And think of it, it's not like he's in, like I repeat again, Mars is not in his 20s though.
Man is 17.
Mars is 17 years.
Like that's another thing. Like it doesn't matter your age. That's one part of it. It doesn't matter your age and your size and your what's it called? And your background.
Like so, imagine killing Goliath. Yeah. Then I'll just go and meet my senior brother. I'll just be like, you bring the food for me.
Right? Yeah, like it wasn't one senior brother that was there, it was 3 senior brothers.
I would just like the eldest, I'll just go and meet him. You bring the food for me.
Like, 3 senior brothers, like that's clouds. I have clouds now.
Like
sorry, let me just finish making that point I was trying to make, right?
Yeah.
So I've lost track of what I was saying. Find it. Yeah. So epitome. Goliath was the epitome of what challenges could look like. And how does he face Goliath? Not with the sword and the armor. Like that's a sensible way you face an enemy. I mean, think about it. You are in war right now. The sensible way to defeat somebody is with the best weapon, is sword, armor. But no, that's not what he uses. He uses stones.
Not stones, pebbles, because we have to be
he picks them from the river right there.
It's a pebble.
Think about it now. Think about Goliath is wearing armor. And he comes against an armored man with pebbles. Let's take 30 seconds. Just digest that. It comes against an armored man with pebbles.
Like I can imagine the laugh. Like, bro, I can imagine the cinematic laughter Like everybody, like just watching this too. They're like, this guy brought, because when you're going there, people and they're seeing you without armor, you're seeing you without nothing. In their mind, they're thinking, they're already laughing. They're thinking that this guy is going to go and kneel down and say sorry.
This guy is dead. They're not
Like,
thinking he's going to say sorry. They know Goliath is going to murder him.
like, so the next thing you just hear is my
His
guy is
brothers were
bringing out
probably thinking about
pebbles.
where they'll bury him.
Yes, his brothers they were already planning burial ceremony. How we're going to explain to our father.
Guy,
I tried to tell him that his foolishness will get him killed. You know, they were planning backup story.
you not hear that the guy just he just used his select, like, bro, you can imagine, because this is 10 feet tall, bro. You can imagine how the stone just hit him. Then I saw the stone fall down. Then everybody's still looking. Next you just see the guy falls.
That's why like this pebbles matter is still stressing me. Like it goes against a challenge with unconventional methods. So
Yeah.
a lot of times when we face challenges, look, I'm dropping words today. People should be writing these things down. I'm dropping words today. A lot of times when we go against challenges, the conventional answer is not always God's way.
It's not always man's way.
It's not. No, it's not always God's way. Like the conventional answer to it is not always the answer that
Okay.
God wants. Like take for instance now, the conventional answer is you armor up, or you train well, you have your speed, your reflect, your agility, all those kind of things is what you do against Goliath. But then God says, nah, none of that, none of that, none of that. Get some stones from the water, put it in a sling. But Lord, when armor, I said, get some stones, put it in a sling. But God is as a shield. You are not listening to me. I said, get some stones, put it in a sling. So yeah, it's foolish. Like, and then it takes me back to that scripture that says the foolishness, the I say the wisdom of God is foolishness to man, or the foolishness of God is
The ways of man are not the ways of God, and the foolishness of God is the
of
wisdom
God
of
is
man.
wisdom to man. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when it looks like foolishness is wisdom. Like when it looks like foolishness is wisdom, man. So like let's take for instance, let's bring it to our current modern day life now. Now you have a challenge that you need to face, but then you what you have to face it is stupid. Like take for instance, you want to make money, and then God says, take the remaining 20 euros you have and give it to the beggar on the street. Lord, I don't think you heard me properly. Lord, I don't think you get me. I want to make money. You're supposed to be telling me where to invest the money. Business opportunities, Lord. But God is like, listen. There's a beggar on the streets. Go and give him the 20 euros.
You'd have be like, Lord, if I give this beggar this 20 euros, I may be the next beggar.
Lord. I will starve, Lord. Like I was listening. I was talking to some friends today, and they were telling me about a prophet that was in his prayer room, and then it got to some point, like it was listening to God about a particular matter. Funny enough, we're discussing Nigeria election, and then there was a prophet that announced the prophet said that what God told him about the Nigeria election made him run out of the prayer room that does not want to hear again. Like he does not want to hear again. So it just got me thinking, like sometimes we, when God tells us some strategies, we're like, nah, this can't be God. Like let's do something else.
Based on what you are saying, right? One thing I've learned is that when it comes to, everything that happened, right, in this story was like a destiny deciding event for David, right? You don't like fighting a Goliath. Most times is a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
Because like before Saul became the king, or when Saul was anointed as king, he faced the Ammonites. Now, when David was anointed as king, that's when he faced the Philistine. So to become a leader,
that was a test.
Exactly. To become a leader, your test might be to face a Goliath. And one thing that I've learned is that, as Christians, there are so many truths and so many principles we've seen in the Bible. We should not get distracted by these principles. Normally, as a Jewish person, there are principles you have to follow to
Yeah.
fight someone like Goliath, right? But one thing and those principles, they are true. Like, one thing I get that in destiny making decisions, like, there might be some true stuff, like principles you have to follow, but there's a difference between true and truths. The truth at that moment was that I should use pebbles. Like, they literally said the pebbles were smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And when he threw the stone on Goliath's forehead, they said the stone sunk into his head. The stone was not sharp,
Mm-hmm.
but a smooth stone sunk into his head. We have to also factor in the spiritual events that took place.
Yes.
Because you also know what David said. He said that he said, "You come to me with sword and a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord, of the Lord of hosts and the God of the armies of the Israel."
So I just imagine something like if I was to do a scene like that, like, right, if I was to do a scene like that, man, what I would do is like have, like, as David is rolling that sling to throw it, bam, I will have like this lucent an angel that just takes the stone from the sling and actually does the throwing. So David is doing the physical aspects, but there's a spiritual backing.
Exactly.
But there's a spiritual backing, because
it can't even be an angel, because they're the Lord of the hosts,
of the host of angels in the angel armies. Like, that's who he, like, the God are very important, because
they are very important.
You invoke the aspect of God when you call on that God. He says God of angel armies. It's like how Romans, when they go to war, they invoke Mars, or when Greeks go to war, they invoke Ares, the god of war. God is like, nah, I can't just sit down and watch this. Look out! Do you hear what he called? Did you hear what he called me? Like, yo.
See,
Man.
when you take,
I have one question before you continue, Ben. I have one question that has not been answered till now. How did a 17 years old? They said the shield of Goliath was carried by another man.
Yes.
That means it took an old man to carry the shield. How did a 17 years old lift the sword of Goliath to cut off his head?
I imagine very, very hard. It was very, very hard work. I imagine it was like a whole struggle thing where he's lifting it, and as lifting it, slammed on the head one time. Probably bloody work too. Maybe when he slammed it the first time, it did not work. He has to lift it all over again. And he just killed Goliath. Everybody's still shocked.
Like, imagine, like, so take it like this, yeah. He's cutting off the head. Goliath's men are still there, but they can't do anything.
Listen, they are shocked. They are shocked.
Mars is just like they are cutting off our general.
Then a mountain falls down. What's your next step?
My guy,
you are shocked.
I surrender all my weapons. We did like that for day. I beg.
Because
I'm too scared to run.
If you notice, they didn't even after Goliath fell, they could still have strategized. Because it's still army against army. They didn't. They ran.
Man is like, our trump card is gone.
You said you were making a point just now.
Mm-hmm.
About how oh Lord help me.
I said about destiny decisions.
Yeah, destiny making decisions, man. Like a lot, like you go through the Bible, like each person has this destiny decided encounter. Like David does a lot in his life. Like David does a whole lot. David faces a lot of challenges and everything. But the deciding moment of David's destiny was Goliath.
It was
Goliath. David decided to face Goliath. And that was how his destiny got jump-started. If David had not faced Goliath, God knows if David will have become king.
It's very important, very, very important that as you are going on in life and as you are going through, you should never skip the process. Because when you skip the process, you not have the opportunity to build capacity. The process was the
bear and the lion.
Exactly. You wouldn't have had the opportunity to build capacity for that kind of mindset and that kind of strength. Because he obviously had and take a lamb from the mouth of a lion. You know the sheer force that a lion has when it's clamping down on something.
Guys, but that's the thing. I want us to take a, like, this is something that we're not thinking properly. And I want us to understand this thing. You don't just go and face a lion or you go and face a bear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Man started from somewhere. I look at this age guy and I look like, for you to say that you face something, it's not like, oh, like last week I just fought a lion, guys. So I'm ready. This means when I take this into account here, man has fought other things, oh,
Mm-hmm.
but
True.
they were not
True.
up to a lion, but they are animals in the human kingdom that
In the animal kingdom. True.
that are scary, but not up to a lion.
Yeah, so yeah, like it's
Ben makes a
a
good
process
point.
of growth.
Yeah, it's the
That
same thing you guys are
growth.
saying. Like that process, David had been going through that process. So when he got to Goliath, he had a process. He had something to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
He had something to fall
Mm-hmm.
back on. So it's like don't don't when they say don't despise the time of little beginning. Don't despise
Mm-hmm.
the little giants that you're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I'm learning from this. Like, don't despise the little giants you're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the little giants you faced, when the big giants come, there's a confidence that you have. If David had not faced
Yes.
the lion and the bear, I don't think he would be able to face Goliath. And if he did not face
Never.
Goliath, we'll not speak of David today. Do you know David is the greatest king that Israel ever had? Historically, let's even forget
Yes.
Man's fought
historically.
Yes.
Goliath. I don't think I need any of that thing for
Like,
his
think, no,
raising
no,
to
no,
his
no.
game. Like,
Don't just say man's for Goliath. Think about the fact that Solomon came after him, and Solomon was the richest man to ever live.
true.
Yet
Mm-hmm.
David is still the greatest king that Israel ever had.
Like I said, man's is the king of mind.
And
Like
that mindset, though.
that mindset,
That mindset.
man's new.
You
Like
guys, we're starting to round up. But that mindset, though. That mindset.
that mindset, guy. See, I have a question that we should do like this. This like if you guys are down, like we are going to like do this thing for every story we do. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did this story interest you?
Me?
Yeah, like
Are you talking about me?
yeah, like on a scale of 1 to 10.
Let's calm down first. My name is David.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand the question. My name, of course, the story interest. I've loved the story. Like the first thing I ever remember learning, first Bible story. Like I shout out to my parents. They indoctrinated me on Bible stories. One of the first stories I ever remember learning was the story of David and Goliath. As a matter of fact, the first thing I ever drew was David and Goliath. And I remember I got the prize for it because I was the only one that remembered to put a sword in Goliath's hand and put a sling in David's hand.
Oh
Oh yes,
shit.
I've been a badass since day one. Okay,
Oh,
since day one, I've been a badass.
Oh
You guys should
shit.
put some respect on my name, okay? Okay.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't
So
believe.
yeah. So that's what's up, right? That's what's up.
Yeah. Ife,
So
Ife,
for
Ife,
me, it's a 10. It's a 10 out of 10.
10, 10. Ife,
yeah. For me also it's a 10. Like you can't take anything, like can't take anything away from this story. It
Even
would
as a
no matter
storyteller, man.
exactly as a storyteller, like dramatic, like it's it was
Escalating
just perfect.
tension,
I know, right?
climax, resolving conflict. Bible is conflict. Bible is
like,
conflict.
the one thing I'll take from David there, minus the mindset, yeah. The one other thing that makes me be like, this guy is somebody that you should look at is that man's was real to himself. Like, bro, man's did this for like money. Like the
He
truth
didn't,
was
he didn't just do it for money. Oh.
like obviously he didn't just do it for money, but that's what like man's head reward, and he's like, that's human response, guy. That's
Man
not
is
any.
like that's actually kind of true. I mean, there's a spiritual
There's a
aspect
spiritual aspect to it,
that is very
but
important. Like David was genuinely pissed that an uncircumcised Philistine is talking against the army of I won't stand for this. I think if there was no reward, you would still have gone for it. But that
no, no,
reward
no.
gave him
Yeah.
the boost.
Obviously, but
That reward gave him the boost.
but put it like this, man said, guy, after I finish dealing with you, I'll go and chop that money.
Man was already making investment
Like,
plans.
man said, when I'm done with you, I'll go and buy that about. Like about
Was making investment plans. Like, David, do you want to know the funny thing? The princess that David was supposed to marry, it took him at least 5 to 10 years before he finally got to marry her.
Are you serious?
Even after he went and got the foreskin of the 300 Philistine, or I've forgotten the amount of Philistine. Saul still said no, I will not marry you. Saul went to go and marry her to someone else. And after Saul's death, that's when
Wait,
she
wait,
now
no,
come back.
David. This one must have his own topic. Saul, not bad, Papa. Guy, you not be man of the world.
So
When we keep on.
that's when Saul started getting jealous of David. Now that's when the market women started singing, David killed 10,000, so 1,000. David killed 10,000, so 1,000. They started comparing them. That's where Saul started getting jealous now.
Ha, or more me, guy. When you put yourself in the mind of David, like in the when I say like in the perspective of David, guy, there are so many things I will not do. Like human fear, like you have to be. When I say you have to be one with it still comes down to like one key factor. I would say if I have to describe David in one word, it has to be the way he first said that mindset. Because Mars was like, God is with me, and I am prepared. So Mars was like, let's go. Like that's a whole ass thing. Like God can be with you. Like the one thing I'll take from this is that God can be with you, but if your mindset is not even, you are not even confident in your own strength, in your own, like in your own power, in yourself, guy, you can't do that thing. Like because it's like God said, like faith and hey, like when guys like faith without work, guy. Mars put in the work. Mars was fighting the bears. Mars was fighting the lions. There were other things though. Mars was doing them. And Mars was like, when it's like at its time. Like Mars saw this obstacle and he did not even see like, oh, Goliath. Because it took them 40 days. Nobody don't answer this guy. Mars did not say, oh, like this is the greatest challenge. Mars said, this is my next target. When I'm done with you, I'll take that money and go and use it to buy a bar.
It's the mindset. So
It's
the
the mindset.
the
If we are
mindset
doing
is
key takeaways,
not sorry.
I thought we were already doing key takeaways.
Yeah, the key takeaway is like that's Ben's takeaway. My takeaway is also
Okay.
the mindset. That mindset. A lot of people in the Bible had that mindset. Like a lot of the biblical heroes also had that mindset. It's not
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it for me. It's that mindset.
Guy.
Well, for me, like what I would just say is that everyone has their dreams. Everyone want to have this large stuff we want to achieve. But one thing I want us to know is that when you're about to achieve it, obviously you are going to face a certain Goliath or a challenge. Because for you to reach that particular position or that realm, you have to have the character that fits that realm. And when you are facing this challenge or when you are facing this Goliath, people that you love and people that you respect may not believe in you. So you shouldn't be expecting validation or you shouldn't be expecting confirmation from human beings. That one thing that helped David was that he trusted in God and he trusted in the power that God had, or the backing that God gave him. So that trust in God, like you need to understand that this is between you and God. It's God, only God. You shouldn't have faith in human. You should have faith in God. Whenever you are facing any challenge or any Goliath in your life, the trust is the most important thing. After the trust, then the mindset comes. So was his trust in God that helped him most of all in that event.
Guy, nah, it's basically like 80% was God, guy.
No, it's 100% good. Everything else is contained inside God.
Facts.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's
Facts.
100%.
Because guy, because of time, because of
All
time,
right,
guy.
guys. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you guys so much for listening. This was interesting. This was interesting. I really love biblical characters. I'm a storyteller, and I think the Bible is the epitome of storytelling that you can find. Epitome of storytelling. Someone broke down the story of Jesus and looked at it and said, it doesn't get better than this. Story wise, it doesn't get better. You can't write a better redemption story. You can't
Story.
write a better tragedy story. Jesus was funny at some points. Like you can't write better stories than what you find in the Bible, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. On across the board. My name is David, and with us have
Man,
I almost said my
Wow.
name is Ife. I almost misidentified myself, And in this current culture, you can't misidentify. You can't even misidentify yourself. Anyways, my name is David. With me today has been Ife and Ben. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you very much, David. And be like David.
Bye.
Be like David. Bye bye, everyone.
Uh,